Hi and welcome to The Practice Gap, the podcast for closing the gap between the practice you have and the one that you want. I'm Elisabeth, a chiropractor, a business owner, coach and entrepreneur, on a mission to help you move from frustration and overwhelm to clarity, focus and joy in practice. Hi and welcome back to the studio, Inger Beate Botheim.
Hello.
The reason I have you back today is because as practitioners, it's probably very special for the healthcare profession, maybe not, we are sometimes scared of getting our message out to the world with how we can help them, in the fear of that somebody's gonna like cut our head off or say that we did something wrong or that we said something wrong, and it kind of holds us back. We have a message that we want to have out, however we are scared. So that's the big picture. The reason why this theme came up was because yesterday we had this little discussion at the clinic about getting your message out. And one of my beautiful people that I work with, she's super smart and she's very, very, she really wants to get her message out to the world. However, she is scared that somebody from her own profession will come and go get her. Question is, how can I help her get over that?
Yeah.
Could you give us 3 tips?
Sure, but only
3.
Only
Where
3
to start?
Just a couple of minutes and we'll solve this case for everybody.
For everyone.
Yes.
Once and for all.
Yeah, once and for all. I can hear what you're saying is getting a message out. I guess it's on social media or getting it out on the internet. And when I hear you speak, I hear fear there. And you even name it, right? Mm-hmm. She is afraid of somebody judging her.
Yeah.
So I think that's not very special for the healthcare industry.
It isn't.
No, it isn't.
Super special.
No. I think that's a part of the human experience. And what comes to my mind when you brought up this topic is Brené Brown's research around shame. And I lean heavily on her work in my work as a client or as a coach with my clients. So that's what got me intrigued into this theme that you brought up. Mm-hmm. So you want to dig right into the practical stuff?
Yes. Actually, wait. Could you explain kind of what shame is?
Yeah. Let's start there.
Yeah. Definitions are good.
Yeah, definitions are good. Because shame, what Brené Brown says around shame is that shame is a social emotion. So that means it lives between us. Lives between human beings, even though you can experience it like when you're all alone and you experience it internally. It is something that happens when you are afraid of or thinking about what other people think about you.
Okay.
If they judge you, from your example.
So when you sit there and think about all the stupid things you said and the way you acted and
right. Other people's and often you make that up, but that's a story you're telling yourself, right? You make up what other people might think about you, and that's a negative self-talk. So it's something that lives between people, and because human beings are social beings, we are born to have connection and love and belong with our tribe. She also says that shame is actually the fear of losing this love, connection and belonging with other people. And like for your example, it might be other practitioners or the ones who would listen to her social media, whatever that is. So it's a fear underneath there. And that's human experience in being afraid of not belonging in the tribe, because it's safer. When you're a part of a group, you're part of a tribe, you're safe, right? So it's the fear of not being in that safe space. Yeah. And then another thing, if I can add to the definition, is that it's very useful to distinguish between the definition of shame and the definition of guilt. And in Brené Brown words again, shame is that I am bad, that I am not worthy of this love, connection and belonging. So I'm stupid, I'm not up for it, I should never have been here. And then guilt is I did something bad. That's more about the behavior.
Okay.
So it's
like
I did
I'm really good. I'm a good person underneath, but I did something really stupid.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's a useful distinction, because even though none of those feelings is a very good place to be, the shame experience, that's more an internal self-talk that I'm not worthy of being here, that really, really holds us back from doing a lot of the stuff that we long to do. Like we also talked about in the last episode. So the shame feeling, it's a deeper, harder, tougher feeling to experience than the guilt.
Okay, so if I'm a clinic leader, and I have 2 people working in my clinic, and one I can see it's the shame that's talking. One, it's the guilt because she knew she didn't do what's she knows she can do it. She hasn't done anything. She didn't meet the deadlines, but she has no fear of getting it out. She just she feels guilty that she hasn't done it, and she feels guilty about she's not going to do it for the next 6 months because she doesn't have time and priorities. So that's one thing. But the guilt feeling is like, I know I want to, I tried, but it's my negative self-talk holding me back. Yeah, because that actually makes super sense now that you distinguish it. Yeah, that's how can I mean, one thing to deal with a guilt person, I can do that. But how do I help this person to change her negative self-talk?
Yeah. That's beautiful that you would be interested in that, because I think just recognizing it, because since shame is a social emotion and it thrives and it grows when it's in the dark, when you don't talk about it. If I don't share my shame or my shame feeling and situations, it will grow. It grows, and it loves being in the dark with the silence and my own self-judgment and all the talk that I do. So just by you seeing it will help.
Okay, so just me seeing that she has this guilt feeling or negative self-talk will make it a little bit better?
Yeah, because since it's a social emotion, what Brené Brown...
so social emotion is kind of bigger than just your emotion, personal emotion?
Yeah, because social emotion, it arises between people. It might be unconscious, but like with your example, it's due to the fear of other people judging us.
So if I don't judge you for this, it diminishes.
Yeah, and that's what Brené Brown says, that it grows when it's silence, when you keep it secret, and when you judge yourself or other people judging you also out loud. Empathy, and that's like the opposite of shame. Empathy is somebody seeing that this is hard, being interested in understanding why this is hard. That's the first step, and that's super important also when you're a coach.
Okay, so concrete then. 1, show some empathy.
Yeah.
To the person who has the negative self-talk.
Yeah, and I think you said that the guilt person I can easily deal with, because we have a sense that that's a more practical thing, you know, and you can help or have discussions around what you could be able to do, or
it's time management. It's like you have all this concrete what to do things.
It's behavior, right? It could be. And often, just to make it a more blurry picture, it could be that I think it's guilt-prone, right? That's around the behavior. It might be that the real cause why you can't move ahead and do something you really want to do might be shame. So what we do when we work with clients around shame is, like Brené Brown again says, you need to understand shame to move through it. Right? So to just understand this distinction between shame and guilt, and then to understand how shame lives in you.
So how does shame live in me
or
you? How does shame live?
Yeah. So shame is what we do is very useful when you start working with shame, is to try to let go of the head and the intellectual part for a bit. Because often our head gets in our way when we try to understand everything. We're going to try to understand shame through the body.
Okay.
So then I would ask you, when this familiar feeling of shame, and I know you have, you feel shame just like the rest of us. Yes. Where in your body can you feel shame?
My feeling of shame would sit both in the heart, but also maybe a little bit in the gut. It makes me a little nauseous.
Yeah.
Can't breathe.
Yeah. So it also affect your breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have a temperature?
No, it has a texture of stone. I think.
Stone. Color.
Grey. And a little black and little white dots.
Yeah, yeah. You are closing your eyes and squinching your face when you talk about shame. Yeah. What's with the face? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. You don't want to go there.
No, it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel that uncomfortable in your body?
Your mouth gets dry.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have a stone in your body, it's not a nice feeling.
No, no. What is the feeling? It's heavy, right? Yeah, yeah. We could, of course, go on and coaching you for another hour. But I think what you did now is such a great example of how our body knows, right? So that's what we mean with starting with the body, to get familiar with
where it,
how does it live in my body? Where does it sit?
Okay, so if I'm, to be practical, so if I'm in a situation, I get this stone feeling. I feel it. It's heavy. It's like, oh man, my body reacts before my head.
Yeah.
What can I do with it? How can I get rid of that stone?
Yeah, throw it out. You mean?
Throw it out to get rid of it.
Yeah. So for the ones who listened to the last episode when we talked together, there's something about creating a space between the stimulus and the response, right? And that's what we talked about last time, to get personal, to get interested in there. And just what you said now, just to be able to, in a given situation or in a dialogue with another human being, just to recognize that, that's the feeling. I'm experiencing shame. Just that will give you some time to reflect and know that this is something in me. Often what we do when we feel ashamed, you don't want to go there, and it goes really fast, and you will take it out on somebody else, or hold yourself back for doing something or saying something that you really want to get out there. So when we work, because this is, of course, this is a work that's super important to do. I think everybody needs to work with their shame, but it's not like done in a second. So when we work with clients, after getting familiar with the body, we will also go to get familiar with what kind of situation or persons or things are triggering those shame responses in your body, right? Because like Brené Brown says, to understand is to understand the body's reaction and what kind of situations and persons triggers this shame response. And can you, when I'm talking now, can you picture some, or do you know what your triggers are for this stone feeling in your body?
Because that's when you talked now, I really wonder how can we feel the difference between shame and guilt?
When you feel guilty, how do you feel that guilt in your body?
A good question. I feel... Oh yeah, when you ask me that, that's then you... Okay, I'm starting to feel it already.
Yeah.
So the shame is the deep breathing, heart thing. The guilt is like, ooh, shoot, I shouldn't have done that. That was really stupid. So then I can then just... It's a stupidity that doesn't really affect how I feel. It's like it affects me kind of more intellectually, or like, oh, maybe I should do something different. But it's not the shame is a lot deeper. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes totally sense, and I think you describe it beautifully, and it's also very interesting to observe you. Because when I gave you the answer, your face was more relaxed than when I asked you about shame, and you were just looking up.
Yeah.
So like trying to find your answer in your head somewhere. Yeah, okay, that's the shame. That's the guilt and that's the shame, and you could distinguish that in your body. That would be a part of the exploration. Like to understand, am I more prone to guilt or shame? We both have we all have both feelings. Where in the body does it live? Because being aware and being conscious about what's happening in situation when we experience this, that's the first key. And it might be like super fast, like you did now, was like super fast, you can experience it. Other people need more digging because it could be hidden. If you've been hiding for years, it could take a while to even go there. And for me, I thought that I don't have any shame, I have a lot of guilt. But then, of course, Brené Brown, she says that if you can't experience shame, you haven't dug deep enough, right?
Yeah, because it's much easier with guilt than shame.
Super easy, and that's you can talk about it and you can laugh about it and everything, right? About all the things you've done. But it's so much harder to talk about what you really are ashamed of. And Brené Brown, she's written a beautiful book that I really recommend for everybody. That's called The Atlas of the Heart. And she describes all these emotions. And it's to get emotional literate, to have the words. It's important, not because there are semantics, because just what you experienced when you told and showed how the shame lives in your body. It's a deeper, harder, the stone, gray stone feeling is heavy breathing. That's something different than guilt. So it's super important to know which feeling you experience.
So going back to the example from the beginning, if I want to help either a colleague or maybe just a friend when I start seeing the shame, because that's of course that we will all see shame after this podcast. Where do I start to help this person?
I think we brought up empathy, to listen, to understand, and to share our humanities, because what we often do when the negative self-talk, the shame has us believe that you are the only one experiencing this. Because everybody else, they are so great on podcast, and they are, like you said, on social media, they are up to date on every theory and research and everything that's happening. We experience, or we think that we're the only one experiencing this. So the first helping part as a colleague, I would say, is to get curious and ask and listen. And
service some good questions.
I think a good place to start with questions is to have them talk. Because that's the opposite of hiding, is to help people put words to their shame.
Okay, so in this example, when you then hear the self-talk and all the fears, you just listen to them?
Listen to them and
or stop them.
And people are so different, because like probably in your example, you heard her self.
She was very vocal about the self-talk, which was really super interesting.
And then it's easier to like latch onto that, because then you can listen, you can ask more, and I think avoiding trying to fix them and giving them good advice is to just listen and share. And often what we do when we are doing the empathy thing is that we're also trying to find examples for ourselves. I understand, right? And maybe to have this sharing of
so if she shares some of her thoughts about this, then it's a good idea that I can also share some how I feel, or
and I think that because to make people understand that they're not alone, right? And I think you said that she was very vocal, and then it's often easier to know how to get the conversation going. Other people, you can just have a sense that they are hiding and they are not speaking. And
so how do we get them to speak?
And that's why you go to a trained coach, because we are trained in getting people to speak. Because that's the hard thing. If you've never spoken about your fear of losing connection and belonging and being stupid and judged and everything, it's not to be expected that just somebody you work with ask you. No. So it could be a hard place to start.
So in this example, because I know she's highly coachable and she done some deep work. Maybe that's why she could so easily talk about these feelings, because she had done some work on herself.
Probably.
So if she would be one of the persons who said like, I don't know, I just don't feel like doing it, I don't know. Could that be a person to start with the coaching now? Or?
Yeah, no, of course, I think everybody benefits to going through a coaching process. But like Brené Brown also do when she has a big talk on TEDx or whatever venue she's at, she also shares her own examples of being vulnerable, of feeling ashamed, right? So I think that's also when you're thinking about conversations between colleagues or friends. So the vocals, they will tell something and you can latch onto that and have a conversation. With other people who are not used to talk about it, you could start with sharing examples for yourself, right? And to show that I'm afraid of putting my voice out there, because I'm so afraid of being judged.
Yeah.
Anybody else feel the same, right? So it's like having common ground. And I think that's the beauty of human connections, right? When you get the conversations on the human level, you know that we are here to experience love and belonging and connections with other people. And I think that really helps to naming our own shame.
When you experience others' peoples of shame, start by sharing some of your own stories.
Yeah, I think that could be
and to show empathy and listen.
Yeah.
Anything else I can do?
No, I think the most important work here is to try to get curious on your own shame. Because often what we do, because I could notice when I asked you, you were super familiar with it, even though you might have not said those words out loud before, you knew. Yeah. So I think to really remember what Brené Brown says, that understanding is the key to getting through shame, and understanding like how does your body react. So get curious about how your body reacts and responds. To get curious about how you experience shame and guilt. And then try to find some of your triggers. Because when you do this, that's back again to this space, right? Because if something happens and you notice something happening in your body, you get the space to reflect and choose your response. And that's very different from something happening, a stone in my and then you maybe attack somebody else or blame somebody else for doing something wrong, or so for the back to the example there, for this wonderful person who wants to get her message out there, and she now realizes it's all about shame, it's all about not being accepted by her colleagues, and she pauses. How should she change her mindset? How should she get over it? Yeah, and I think that's a process, right? That's the whole coaching process. That's the whole coaching process, and I think today's world, we're all about the quick fixes, right? Give us some quick fixes. Give us some quick fixes. Give us three to 5 steps, and I can do this very fast, and then just get on with it. And I think then it's all about the behavior. And that might work for a short time. But if it's shame, it's a bigger process. Because it's all about how you feel inside. How you identify yourself. I need to be this person or that person. It's something that we have been doing for many, many years. Like holding on to this persona. So that's a change process. That's the whole coaching process. And that's not the quick fix. Yeah. So to sum up a little bit, shame is really not a feeling I think we have been talking about as people, like that. It's not a feeling. You had a lot probably about, I mean, it's when I think about shame, I think a lot back in time from being a kid or being a young adult. But I can't really remember that anyone talked about what does shame feel like. It was just
it's a word. It's just a word.
Yeah.
But it has, we don't know where to put it.
No.
So to familiar with us and maybe go deep in itself to see what does shame mean for us, and then to check out the feeling inside.
Yeah.
Could that be a starting point?
Yeah, and I think to get curious about shame and understanding it, and not just intellectual, but also from your body, to understand how the shame lives in you, and putting words on it. Like we said, that shame will grow when it's surrounded by silence and secrecy and your own self-judgment. It doesn't grow that well when it gets out in the open. And I think that's due to when
the biggest killer of shame is talking about it?
Yes, it's naming it and normalizing it. And normalize that shame, feeling ashamed, is a part of the human experience. Yeah. And I think that's also what Brené Brown says, right? To be able to speak it and normalize it and know what we're feeling. And I totally feel the same, like you said, that I never talked with this in my family or in the school or education that I attended to. And I think that's because it's too painful often. Yeah. Right? It's too painful to go there.
Yeah, so it's feeling guilty is better. It's easier feeling.
So
okay, so if I started to sum up and I completely start to think, it brings out a lot of thinking here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
So the take-home message to the audience, and correct me if I'm wrong, what might be holding you back could be shame. So you have to kind of figure out if it's shame or guilt you're feeling when you're trying to get your message out and you don't get it. So if you want to post something on social media or talk to someone, is it that you don't put off you have all the knowledge and you know you are right and you have no fear that anyone's going to judge you because you are not scared of a message? Or is it that you are scared that when your message gets out there, somebody is going to cut your head off and tell you that you're a terrible person and you don't know your stuff and you're just not worthy of being the person you think you are?
Yeah.
So that's number one. Find out if it's guilt or shame.
Yeah.
If it's shame, try to feel where it is in your body and start talking about it.
Yes.
And then find somebody to talk about it who will give you a little empathy.
That's very smart.
And if there's no one around you, or if you actually want to get rid of your shame and naming it, get a coaching hour.
Yes. Get a coaching hour. Yeah.
Is that sum it up?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. This is summed up. To understand your shame, you have to notice it, right, in your body. You have to experience it, just like you did on this podcast. So naming it, noticing it, and normalize it in conversations with people you trust. That would be a good way to start.
Yeah. Anything more?
A lot more.
Yeah, a lot more. Yeah, that's such a bad question. Well, I think we're gonna end on this note, and I am pretty sure Inger Beate will be invited back on this podcast. Okay, thank you, Inger Beate.
Thank you. I'll be happy to be there.